You are listening to the B2B Marketing Mindset with Pete Monfre and Bill Lowell. We want to help demystify marketing to reduce risk, drive more and better opportunities, and grow your business. Are you ready to master marketing?
Well, here we are again. Let's jump right into the B2B Marketing Mindset. By the timer there, we were about 34 seconds late. Oh my.
Wow.
I couldn't get the theme music to work, so who knows. Anyway,
Thanks.
hey, I'm Pete Monfre. This is Bill Lowell. We're technologically
Thanks.
challenged, and we're talking about sweeping changes in the B2B market. In fact, every market, and it affects every company, every industry. And, you know, why are companies sort of universally seeing lower close rates, longer sales cycles? Prospects don't want to talk to you or us or anyone, it seems. And every week we go live on LinkedIn to help you make better marketing decisions and demystify marketing, grow your business, all kinds of good stuff. And, this is an important topic, I think. And I'll encourage you to stay through to the end where we share our final thoughts, kind of how to adapt and overcome these changes. And as always, there's a lot more information at b2bmarketingmindset.com, as it says right there, right over there. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I am good.
Sounds good. I'm excited about our panel coming up too tomorrow, so that'll be nice.
Tomorrow, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, we're going to be going deeper with a bunch of panelists that I think you'll really dig on this topic tomorrow. And so we'll cover a little bit about why we're even talking about it today and what's happening. But yeah, tomorrow, 11 o'clock Central. And got to sign up for this one, and we'll put a link down in the comments. It's not going to be streamed live. But
it is free.
Have to sign up. It is free. That is one of the upsides. But
yes.
But we'll talk about that more. So change.
Yeah. Change is all around us.
I think especially since the COVID disaster, so many things have changed. I like to say pretty much everything's changed, but probably not your go-to-market strategy. So how does that make any sense?
That is great, isn't it? I love that. So
it's amazing.
Everything's changing around, but we're going to stay. That's the one stable thing that I have in my life is I'm doing the same thing I always did, huh?
Doing the same thing you were doing 10 years ago.
Exactly.
I'm going to admit, I think we can be guilty of that too. It's sometimes very overwhelming to keep up with all the change. And there's so many, we're going to talk about the different areas that are constantly changing, not just because of COVID, but I think it's always been this way. And then how you can sort of adapt, overcome, and thrive as, the chaos churns around you. I don't remember who said, the one thing you can count on is everything's going to change.
I wonder if that was Peter Drucker. I don't know for sure, but that's really, it's really, yeah, I don't think confused, but it's an important thing. And that is really true, isn't it? The only thing that's constant is change,
I think it was Peter Drucker. And you'll see a running theme, I think, in today's program as far as how do you keep up with this, but we'll just jump right into it because I know you people out there are so impatient.
Yes.
All you folks on LinkedIn and elsewhere, on Pandora, on Spotify, on iTunes, and iHeartRadio, all you impatient folks, we'll get right to it. Customer behavior. Man, the customers. What is with those guys? Why are they making our life so hard?
Yeah.
We love them.
Yeah. Their life is changing too. So, so the way they want to buy is probably changing. The way you need to sell to them probably needs to be changed or modified. And so, there's change all around. There's change, like we talked about in the marketplace. There's change in the environment. There's change in the economy. I mean, it's coming from all angles. So I'm sure that the customers are trying to adjust as well.
Well, and we're seeing the outcome of how they're changing, and it isn't necessarily a positive thing for a lot of companies. Now,
right.
There's companies that are just absolutely thriving also that aren't seeing much of a change. But honestly, I don't meet hardly any. I'm going to say I haven't really met any that are saying, oh, no, everything's the same. Really, people are struggling with lower close rates. They're scratching their head. Why? I mean, even like KPIs that are leading indicators like open rates on email campaigns or click rates or They're not clicking on ads. They're not signing up for demos like they used to. Things aren't working the way that they used to. And there's some huge changes that are causing that, and it has to do with customer behavior. But I think really everything we're going to talk about today converges on that behavior. It's
Yeah.
changing how people buy. So if you get out of sync with that, it's a problem. And
It's,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's scary. I was talking to a company about a month ago, and their sales had definitely plateaued. They hadn't had growth for about 3 years. I asked them, have you been out to see your customers, or have you done a customer study or anything, to get in touch to find out what's going on? And what do you think the answer was?
What's that? What's a customer
Ex-
survey?
I love that.
Something like
I,
that? Am I
it was,
close?
that's how I interpreted it.
Did they just
but
stare at you and then didn't say anything? I was
but
like,
it was really scary. I mean, they said the last time they surveyed their customers was over 10 years ago. And then they were talking about their salespeople were like almost reluctant to get out now and go and see customers or get in touch. I was like, so it's like, how are you going to find some of that stuff out if you're not doing something to monitor what's going on and the changing preferences?
well, and if anybody reaches out and wants Bill to help you interview customers, he's not going to laugh at you like that. He'll be
Oh,
really
yes, I
nice
will.
about it. Well, he might,
No, no, no.
but not while you're there.
Yeah. We'll
He's
talk
a,
about it on the podcast.
we'll talk about you. You're doing that for me, actually. We're just getting ready
Yeah.
to send out
Yes.
to lots of random people just to measure perception and all kinds of things because I want to keep
Yeah.
up with the changes. And really, it's not that difficult. And so this is what I love about customer behavior. Uh, it's just one of the most valuable. It's simple. Customers love to be asked what they think. It's just a
Right.
really positive thing. And I just, in fact, when we're doing a plan for companies, a lot of times we don't really start to pull things together until we talk to your customers or people who fit your customer profile, for example. Sometimes we intentionally don't want to talk to customers. We might want to just talk to people who fit the profile. Or maybe you're a startup, right? And maybe you don't
Yeah.
have a lot of customers yet, but you got to we'll help you put together that profile and we'll talk to people that are the types of people that you want to become customers and they will just tell you everything you need to know. So customer behavior, one of the things constantly changing. Very
You know,
unpredictable because they're humans
yeah.
usually.
And so much has changed. It's very interesting. I don't want to say that I'm on the leading edge because that would be, I'm giving myself compliments, but what I'm seeing is when people start coming to us to get some research or whatever, something weird's going on. Now, I always say sometimes they're already way behind because they should have been doing this already, which I can tell you a little bit about that in a second. But it's like, but we're getting a lot of people coming to us now talking about, hey, we need to better understand what's going on. And I applaud them, but that's why I think there's lots of stuff happening out there,
Well, I don't think it's it ain't bragging if it's true. I mean, you run a
Yeah.
marketing research firm, and so
Yeah.
you should be on the cutting edge of what is happening because you're constantly doing research and not just
Yeah.
customers but all across the board. That's why we
Exactly.
like working with you too. And so,
Can I can I mention one thing, Pete?
of course,
The one thing that's scary that I want listeners to know about though is we can do all the research in the world, but if companies aren't willing to do something about it or change, then they're wasting their money with us. I have a few clients, unfortunately, that we've done the research and they've done nothing. They've done
yeah.
nothing about the findings, and they were major findings. So you get that too. So don't do it unless you're really interested in finding out what's going on.
Well, it could be too that you have every intention of doing it, but it is hard to execute. I think,
Yeah.
in fact, you can get help for execution, and a lot of markets are such that you don't need a better idea necessarily anymore because there really aren't any new ideas as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
But you can certainly out execute your competition, which brings us to our next point, things that change, the competitive landscape. I mean, this has happened so often to us where we might ask a client, who are your competitors, because we want to go out and study them, spy on them, um, gather intelligence. We like to say, spy.
Yeah.
Um, and they may give us three or four, but then when we actually go out into the marketplace, we discover a whole slew of companies that they don't know existed, and we didn't know they existed either, right?
Right.
Because the
Right.
companies are constantly starting, other ones are going out of business.
Yeah.
The competitors you know of, they're changing just like you're changing. They're pivoting, they're entering new markets, they're innovating, right? And you don't know
Exactly.
any of it, because when is the last time you went out and looked at, even just casually looked at competitor websites?
Right, right, exactly. One of the things that I really appreciated of what you've put together, and I think if companies work with you, they already know about this, but your blueprint where you do that competitor analysis is like such a sophisticated model that if people are interested, they should see that thing. That is one beautiful piece of work as far as
Oh,
I'm
I
concerned.
appreciate, it's only taken us 30 years to develop it, but thank you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we're measuring your company, and your top four competitors on the same 20 factors. It's a weighted scale, and it gives
Yeah.
us a map of where they're weak and you're strong, and vice versa, and how you can exploit those weaknesses. And it's just up to date information. It takes about a week. It's really fast, and you can do it every 6 months.
Yeah.
The other
You
thing that's
should do it
great,
every six.
I think that's a good number. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not expensive either. Um,
No.
the other thing I ask people is, when is the last time you visited your own website?
Yes.
I'm not criticizing. It's like, it's hard, man. We have so much going on.
Yeah.
It just doesn't occur to us sometimes. Just, I'm going to carve out an hour and I'm going to go look at, let's say, the competitors that we're just butting heads with most
Right.
often, and just go through. I mean, it's funny how much information companies will put out there, right? We did a competitive intelligence project for a company, and we found a competitor's complete marketing strategy and their
Wow.
metrics and everything that was going on the LinkedIn profile of their marketing director.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, so here's everything these guys are doing. I mean, that was
Yeah.
like a easy slam dunk, but
Yeah.
you'd be
That's not
amazed. We found complete marketing plans online that were just publicly available. Now,
oh,
I think it's crossing the line to if I were to find a marketing plan of a competitor and just hand that to my customer, I don't think that would be right. But I can tell you it will inform my recommendations.
yes.
But it's
Absolutely.
incredible how much information is just readily available out there. Um, and so competitive intelligence, keeping up with the competitive landscape,
You
it's
know,
not as hard as you think.
one of the things that we've done, and I'll just share a couple of them with regard to that, where we've run some testing in focus groups where we have like maybe some messaging or an ad, or a radio ad or a television ad from our clients. And then we also run a few competitors and we get audience members or unbiased people to comment. And actually, that's pretty powerful. But one of the things that we found in one of our recent ones is that one of the competitors of one of our clients is stealing their messaging
Oh,
and some of the things that they have been saying. And so it's like, it was kind of wild where they go, oh, they mentioned, somebody else. And we're like, what do you mean? That's our stuff. We went and checked it out. They actually swiped word for word some of the exact same messaging. And I'm like, so doing some competitor
wow.
stuff, you find out what's going on as well. But to your point, I think, you know, even looking at it, maybe they're doing something new, maybe they're doing something innovative, maybe they're looking at new markets, maybe they've already expanded, maybe they've done something else. But you like you said, you got to stay on top of that. But I love your blueprint for that. I that's the one I'd recommend just because people can kind of do that with you, and then
Yeah.
it's really a powerful tool.
Yeah, and it's just, I just like it because it's so expedient, and it is qualitative. And the thing that we see the most is that people just assume they know what's happening in their industry or in their market because they've been in it so long. But
Yeah,
then if you just logically look at how much has your own company changed in the last few
right.
years, how have you pivoted? Your competitors are pivoting too. And
Yes.
so competitive landscape can change before you know it. Your own company, I mean, I don't know of a single company right now, and I'm talking to companies all across the country every week, all kinds of people, leaders of companies. Um, I don't think a single one is not pivoted in some substantial way since 2020.
Yeah,
And
I
so
think you're right.
another area of change, you're changing, your company's changing, your people are changing.
Yeah.
Right
You
now,
know,
retention's a big deal.
it is, isn't it? And both retention in employees and customers. So I think,
Yep.
if you can't find the employees to help monitor or help with customer service or help fulfill what the customer needs, that's significant too. So I think you're absolutely right. You want to stay competitive and take a look at yourself. One of the things that you and I've talked about, and we've talked about maybe doing a podcast on this in the future, but having everybody even just look at the life cycle of your products and services, and finding out where you are. I mean, doing a little bit of a deep dive, you can do this internally, but do a deep dive and take a look at that, because maybe that will help you make some tweaks. If something is in some mature areas, or you got a mature product line or mature markets, maybe it's time to do some things that are innovative or to come up with some other new product lines. So
Well, and we used to do this all the time together where, depending on what stage you're in on that market life cycle curve, there are totally different strategies for let's say, a mature product as opposed to an emerging one or a
yeah,
declining one. And so this might be a good time. Let's jump over to our little promo screen here, the B2B
good.
buyer's journey tomorrow, October 27th. If you're seeing this in a rerun, then you missed it. But
Oh,
sorry, it's tomorrow. It's at 11 o'clock Central Time. We've got Bill and I, probably the most important people on the panel. Or no,
yeah.
I should
Oh,
say the
by
least.
far.
We're the least important. Tim, Tim from Brain Trust Partners, Tim Hayden, David Smith, wicked problem solver and futurist, Wayne Meyer, who is doing some super innovative things, with a company that is an industrial, it's a plastic extrusion company. Um, Remind me of the name, I'm just blanking on it. Jifram.
Different extrusions. Yep.
Uh,
Sheboygan. I think it's Sheboygan or Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin.
Sheboygan.
Yeah.
I find industrial technology one of the most difficult places to innovate. And here these guys are doing some things, and I hope he shares with us what he's doing, because when he showed it to me, I was just like, you're a genius. That's crazy. Really, really good stuff. And Mike Purnell I love the name of his company, Belchfire. Because if you've ever gone out in Sheboygan and drank a lot, maybe a lot of Pabst,
Uh-oh.
and then you
Uh-oh.
ate some of that like microwave burrito, you're gonna
Oh,
Belchfire.
no, no.
No,
It would be Polish sausages or bratwurst.
there you
Come
go, the
on.
brats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's fun. I like it because it's funny. Is his company makes these devices? They light boilers, and I don't know whose stroke of genius. Who's probably Mike. These things belch fire. I mean, it's just an awesome name. But he's an incredible guy, and so
Oh,
this should be a really good panel. And there's a link in
yeah.
the comments. You can sign up for it. Let's get back to our topic, shall we?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a
That's
little commercial.
we were talking a little bit about company offerings, and maybe I wanted to just, we've talked about a few things, but I think obviously looking at yourselves is a really good thing. And a lot of times when we've talked about strategic planning, or when we always say, spend time on your business rather than in your business. So in other words, step back a little bit, and maybe there's some things that you can do or that your employees or staff can do to help you focus a little bit more on the business, and that might give you some good insights.
And that's been standard advice for decades, and we still don't do it very well. I don't do it very well either. We're just scrambling all the time, it seems, but I think it's something you have to maybe force a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I know that I can say that we've changed our offerings quite a bit in the last 3 years. We've
Yeah.
refined them. Lots of changes, but let's get to the next thing before we're out
Oh,
of
can I
time.
share one? Can I share one tidbit of one
Well,
of my,
of course you can.
one of my clients? They are very, very innovative and creative. They've given all of their employees an iPad, and they tell them that every week on Friday we're going to download your creative ideas, and so they keep a creative bank of what are the possibilities for their company. I just think that that's a genius. Even if they came out with one or two new product ideas or services, it's a great idea. So, but it's a way to get everybody engaged and thinking about the creativity, new business, innovation, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, and innovation can come from anywhere. Are they hiring? Because I could use a new iPad, and sounds like a
Exactly.
cool place.
Yeah, let's go there and work for a day, get the iPad.
Just get the iPad, and we're out of there.
Yeah.
Legislative changes. Legislative. I hope that's spelled right. Legislative changes. I think this is one that isn't thought of very often, and some industries affected more than others. But honestly, we're all affected by legislative changes. And how often do you think of that? It's bad when it sneaks up on you. By the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
One
of the things that we do for our clients when they go through their strategic planning, we usually do some kind of research called an environmental scan, where we'll take a look at all of the legislative stuff. We'll look at economic stuff, geopolitical. I mean, we'll look at all of it just to kind of see, is anything on the horizon that could impact them as they're planning for their future? But you are so right. The majority of companies never even think about that unless it's smack dab right in the middle of them,
Well, my amazing and wonderful wife runs a design media production company, has been doing it for 30 years. And the globalization of that business took us by surprise. This is now 15 years ago, but it also completely changed the nature of the business, the perceived value of the business. I think now there's almost a backlash happening where people have had about enough of that dude in Bangladesh, and they're looking for something a little better in terms of not just the creative ability or the look of things, but they're looking for reliability, consistency, professionalism. They're not getting it from India, Punjab, they're not getting it from these other places. Hey, more power to them, but we're seeing changes and backlash. And in fact, when you're talking about buyer behavior, one of the sage advice things I see all the time is, buyers want to self-serve. We'll talk about this more tomorrow on the panel. They don't want to talk to your salespeople. They don't want to look at your demo, right? So the answer for some is, hey, you need to be providing high quality content so they can do their own research. Well, wait a second. I think it's McKinsey says when they surveyed business people, one of the complaints was there's so much high quality content that they're overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
Now, I wish I had a cool, ready, smart answer for that. I don't. I mean, this is a complicated issue, and I'm looking forward to hearing from the panelists on that. We like to think that we're putting out quality content. We'd like to think that. Well, somebody told me that it's like drinking from a fire hose with us.
I still think the more you can do to educate your customers, which is what you do, I think you give them the benefit of the doubt is what I'm saying. And so hopefully they'll learn some things, but exactly like you said, if it's all self-service and they're having no one helping guide them, I don't know. I mean,
hey, listen, if we're going too fast for you, there's a little gear down at the bottom of your video player. You can play this at half spead. Okay.
Oh, is that technology? Is that what you're talking about?
Technology, right? Yes.
Technology.
Good lead into the next headline: technological change. Anybody heard of AI? I don't know if anybody's heard of it. This thing, AI, I don't know. Animals
are innovating? Is that
innovation?
Yeah, that must be it.
I mean, God, technology, the march of technology, the growth of CRMs. I mean, this is not a new thing. I would say that I think technologically, and maybe it's my age showing, I think it's the hardest thing to keep up with. I mean, just look what's happened with the sophistication of Facebook advertising.
Right.
The tool sets they have now, the way that you can target people, it is nuts. And it's not simple. I mean, one piece of advice I give to people, they say, hey, look, my niece just graduated from college and she's so good at Instagram. We're going to have her run our social media. I said, okay, well, that's great. Here's a way to test. All right, we just want to test and make sure, right? Have her log into business.facebook.com, right? And give you a little tour of it. If that goes well, hire that person, right? It's not just about posting stuff. It's like, it is very, very sophisticated. So that's just one thing. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, and I think what you're talking about is if you're just posting stuff, that's one-way communication. You know what I mean? What are you doing to engage to get it coming back at you or to understand the trends or any of those kinds of. So I think you are just so right with regard to that, but a lot of people have changed just with regard to the Zoom. You know what I mean? Look at since COVID, all of the people that are doing the Zoom meetings or
I think it's just Zoom. I don't know if it's the Zoom. I think
okay.
it's maybe it's just Zoom. I just teased it. But you're right.
Good
Like
meeting.
teleconferencing. I mean, we had Zoom before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then I'm one of them. I discovered, hey, this Zoom thing keeps me out of traffic pretty well. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Cuts down on travel costs. A lot of people don't like it, right? And they prefer to meet in person. That's fine. Well, it's the rare person that I will meet in person. You got to be pretty important. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well,
if I'm going to meet with you in person,
that's great.
I'll fly to Wisconsin to meet with you, though.
Well, we'll meet halfway.
Nice.
But you know what? And it's funny because we've had a platform that we've been using for over 10 years to do online focus groups. They're exploding now because everybody's so used to doing the Zoom and doing the online platform for the online focus groups. Now I'm thinking, I don't understand why this wasn't popular. Just like you said, 7, 8 years, but we've had this technology, but we're adjusting, and I think what your point is, people's needs are changing, their preferences are changing. You better know what those are. But it is kind of nice because you could do a focus group with people from all over the world or all over the country. Absolutely. And you don't have to pay for travel costs to get them in to do so they're saving a lot of money that way.
This program is made possible by Zoom. We're in 2 different places. And that I think that's going to be a big topic on the panel on tomorrow on the 27th. Hey, do we have a link to the panel down in the comments? We do? Okay. Awesome. So you can sign up for that. I would do it right now. It's not like the tickets are limited or anything.
They're very limited.
Are they limited?
They're going fast, yeah.
There's just only a certain number of seats on Zoom.
That's it.
But technological change, massive. Salesforce, HubSpot. I mean, I remember one of our clients was SAP. Yeah. Back in the day. And their biggest problem was they had created this almost inscrutable CRM, and their adoption rate was just terrible. As people were like, hey, and what we did through our research, and we may have even worked on this, it was we've discovered that the real problem was they were kind of asking people to change how they worked on a day-by-day, hour-by-hour basis. That was a lot to ask, so they really had to adapt. But then we've got competitive landscape. Salesforce comes in, and I don't know. I mean, some of you, senior citizens out there might remember ACT. Uh-oh. Remember ACT?
Yeah.
Remember, was it called Goldmine?
Oh, you're taking me back.
Oh my. These are no longer in existence, and I always liked ACT. I thought it was easy to use. Salesforce now, biggest complaint there, too complicated, right? And so it's like a circular pattern of technological change. It's very easy to get lost in that.
That is just so true. We just updated on our all of our research database systems that we use, and it's like 10 times more complicated than the last version that we had that was 3 years ago. And so, I know that some of our staff members are pulling their hair out trying to, to come up to speed on it. It's just, but the offerings and the things that it can do is so much more advanced. So, by the time we figure it out, we'll have a new one.
It makes me think of cybersecurity, where it used to be that only the bigger companies were worried about cybersecurity. It's really filtered down to, even small companies are seeing attacks on their websites, for example.
Yes.
We've gone to the point where, we have a version of WordPress that we use when we do web development where we've gone in and we've fixed a whole bunch of vulnerabilities in WordPress just because it's just not for, security isn't just for the big guys anymore. Right. It's crazy, this technological change. And of course, with artificial intelligence, who knows where that's going to lead. I would love to just talk about that on a program. It went from such a promising thing to honestly kind of crap at this point. I mean, it's like, I can't get nothing good out of it. Everything I get out of it, I'm just going to rewrite the whole thing because it's become like the dumbest kid in the class. Yeah. I don't know what is happening with that. I have no doubt that it's going to improve and be a significant game changer, but it's just not now. still can't draw hands apparently.
But you know what, though, and I understand because there's probably a lot of companies that are going through all this. All of the things that we've been talking about cost them money. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so if things have kind of, melted down for them, or things are changing and they're trying to figure it all out, and you've got all of these things, including technology, that everything is costing some money. Everybody has to update, or they have to worry about paying ransom for somebody hacking their system.
Right.
It's got to be frustrating. It's just got to be frustrating for the business owners and for everybody else that have their business.
I think it's a good topic for a whole podcast. I mean, especially this ransomware thing, and we have some good stuff to share on helping you avoid that. Economic change. I mean, this is an easy one. What was the biggest economic change in our lifetime? Oh, I don't know, maybe COVID shutdown. The illegal, immoral, and ridiculous COVID shutdown that hurt so many people. Hey, I don't mean to have an opinion. But honestly, economic change, cyclical economic change. When I graduated from high school in 1981, that was the beginning or middle of the Reagan recession, one of the biggest recessions in history. And
that was Jimmy Carter's recession.
Was it Jimmy Carter's? Yeah, I don't remember which one claimed it. But I think we've had 7 since then, right? So economic changes. What is happening in the economy? What are interest rates doing? My dad had a cabinet shop for 9 years. It was very, very successful. And then all of a sudden, the Fed changed the rates. People weren't borrowing money to build custom kitchens. Went out of business, right? Yeah. Economic change. It's good to see those in the through the windshield instead of the rear view mirror. So again, and we're going to talk real quick. I got one more thing, and we'll talk about what can you do about this in our final thoughts.
I was just going to mention too. I mean, look at all the furniture manufacturers that we used to have in this country, especially in the South and everything like that. And I mean, China has really done a lot with that too, just because they made it a lot less expensive. And so that's just crazy too. But the economic change, especially from the standpoint of, when companies see it and they pull back, which is their natural inclination. Oh, we're gonna pull back. It just sets you way, way behind when times do turn around.
Right. It creates a ripple effect. I was thinking about this. We were watching Boardwalk Empire for the second time, which really held up for us. I had forgotten everything that happened in that program, and but I was noticing how ornate everything was. And the amount of workmanship and labor that they could afford to put into a chair or everything. I mean, it was just, and it occurred to me that the power of the dollar, the march of capitalism, what do we have now? IKEA. We have disposable furniture. And my dad was a furniture maker, right? And even what he would do is almost not even feasible today unless you're really operating way at the high end of the market, very niche oriented. That was the standard in the 70s.
I know it.
Heirloom quality furniture. It almost doesn't exist anymore.
Spectacular.
And it's all economics. And so, which is a class that in college, I wrote on the test, the final test, I said, I think all economists are guessing. And that's all I wrote. And I got a B. So that's pretty good.
That's great.
Oh, that was good. I had no idea what was going on in that class.
You were guessing.
And neither did the professor. So we were on even ground. It's like weather, like meteorologists. Geopolitical change. Man, this is a topic for right now, ain't it? Geopolitical change. Scary. I mean, it affects, you might think, well, it doesn't affect us. What's going on over across the world? Well, what about gas prices, the cost to deliver goods, the goods that you buy, the raw materials, the stuff that our clients buy, the supply chain. Remember when you couldn't buy a car?
Yeah. I mean,
empty car lots. I mean, what's happening geopolitically? Now, you can put these in some kind of hierarchy, of course, but you might spend 5% of your energy on keeping up with geopolitical change, but you might spend 50% on customer research, right? And so these are the things that we help clients with every day. And so, but I think that's a good one.
You're depressing me with
It's
all of these
depressing.
things. If I'm a business owner or a marketing person, I'm going, oh my God, is there any hope for us? That's what I'm wondering, you know?
There is hope. We're going to share some
Okay,
hope
good.
with you now in
Great,
our
great.
final thoughts.
Ooh, all right. There you go.
Final thoughts.
You know, it's funny, the voiceover on that graphic sounds like a munchkin on the screen, but in the actual video, it's really deep voiced. I don't know what happened there. I'll have to figure that out. You know what isn't changing? Let's talk about what's not changing. You know what's not changing? Your go-to-market strategy. All right, you still think it's 1994. What's up with that? You know, I see a lot of websites that look like stuff we were making in like the late 90s. You know, what happened there? Well, I love it also when people say, hey, let's visit my website, but don't really look at it. You know, that might
That
be a
is good. Yeah,
problem.
exactly. Don't even look at it.
I'm not sure how to follow those instructions.
Exactly.
So I think that's the point of tomorrow's panel. It's called the post-COVID B2B buyer, and we're talking about humongous shifts in how buyers are changing their behavior, but it really is in the context of all the stuff that we've talked about on today's program. And so it directly affects how you go to market. So if you're still doing the same things you were just 5 years ago, you're probably behind the curve. Is that safe to say? I mean, you're the research guy.
Yeah, I mean, I always say too, if you're doing it even 2 years, I mean, research gets out of date after probably 2 years. So it's like you better stick with what's happening. So I think you're absolutely right.
I hear a lot about the year 2020. Well, it's almost like we got halfway into 2020, and the mood of the market was sky high. Everybody was just like, hey, man, we are finally cranking.
Yeah.
And nobody could have expected how COVID shut literally everything down. I mean, I have friends that are literal rock stars, and they were sitting on their butts in their apartment going nuts because they're used to being on the road all the time. But what the nice part was we got to be able to talk, more. But that's crazy to think that arena rock, acts were just shut down. I talked to one promoter. He said, I just canceled 100 shows.
Oh, wow.
In 2 days. And that's just the music industry. Your go-to-market strategy needs to be updated. I think every 2 years. And look, you don't have to hire us. I mean, this is all stuff that you can do on your own. All right. Now we can quibble about if that's a good idea or not, because you're going to be full of bias. You might not. You might see through a lens that your bias affects how you see it. Maybe you're not up to speed on. It's going to take you maybe a lot more energy to get up to speed, where we're kind of constantly doing this stuff. So I like to think we're up to speed. But I want to put that out there. It's not an ad for us. It's just saying that.
I think we are changing all the time because, as I've said, and you do the exact same thing I do. I mean, we become an expert in our clients' industries for, what I say is a short period of time while we're doing work with them. So, I actually think we're doing that constantly changing, just moving from one client to another or one industry to another. So I think that that's really important.
Well, that cross-industry thing too. I mean, I think that's an advantage too that we have, that when you work across a number of industries, you really start to see patterns that all these industries have in common, and you can start to see larger trends. And that's one of the more exciting parts of my job. But I think you have to look at your marketing and even your sales process on a cycle, like a cyclical basis, like where you're revisiting your assumptions, you're looking at new data, and it just becomes part of how you operate. I think that's how you deal with change.
Right.
And certainly there's a leadership aspect.
Yes.
I think there's huge problems right now in recruiting. And the mantra is nobody wants to work. It's a much bigger issue than that. All right. And I would love to do a show about that sometime.
Actually, I think that would be a great one because I've heard that a lot from my clients.
And I'll tell you what, it ain't true at all. I think if you read these job ads and you look at what they're asking for and what they're willing to pay, kind of not too hard to figure out the problem. But
Right.
but there's other issues, and it's actually technological. It's the way they do it. There's all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, recruiting is marketing. How are you marketing your value as an employer, right?
Right.
So it could be a great topic, but I think this is a crazy good topic, and we ought to revisit this because everything's changing all the time.
I think that would be fun. And I think to your point, what an opportunity for people to listen to some great speakers and insights tomorrow. So
Tomorrow, hey, let's go to our little slide here.
Don't they get a chance to send in questions to some of
They
the
do.
panelists too?
So what we're going to do is from about 11 to noon, we're going to have our panel discussion. I wish we could cover more questions during that time, but it's just pretty goes fast. And then we're going to have about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, where we can answer questions from the folks that are, I don't know what to call them, in the audience.
In the audience. Yeah, in the audience.
And these panelists they're brilliant people. I mean, I think I'm going to be the dumbest guy in the room, and I'm the moderator. You're moderating. We're going to moderate together, and I'm going to try not to talk.
I just thought I was just going to listen and have a cup of coffee and learn.
But I'm not kidding. I'm not just blowing smoke. And these are people that half of them I've known for a long time. I think the other half you've known for a very long time.
Yeah.
You don't get to be on our panel, just guy off the street. And so I'm excited, and I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, and you're right. Just some outstanding people. I think it's going to be just terrific. And I think, like you said, it's unfortunate we just have a limited amount of questions that we can engage in, but I think we've picked some of the best questions to engage.
I hope so.
I think that we're going to find out. If we don't, the audience members are going to send in their questions, and we'll ask that. So
right, or they'll just split. I don't know, but
no, they won't. You won't split. They'll be captivating.
I learn something every time, and that's my goal. Even if it was just us in an empty room, I would still love to do it. So, but I think, I will see you tomorrow. Oh, hey, we got the final thoughts going on again. Guess I have to kill that before we go. If it weren't for making mistakes, I don't think this show would be as entertaining.
Well, we learn from them, don't we?
No, not really. We just repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
Oh, so we're doing the same thing that we always do for the last 10 years? Oh, thank you.
Oh, man.
That's good.
Well, listen, I think it's a great topic. I think that we still have, we're up to our ears in this stuff all the time, and we still have a lot to learn from it. And so, we'll be covering more stuff next week. We'll hopefully see some of y'all tomorrow. If you're listening on one of the audio-only platforms, you get to see the video with the awesome visual aids that sometimes come up randomly at B2B mindset.com. Let's put that up on the screen right there. And until next week, I need a pocket thing. What is that called?
Whatever. Pocket square.
Pocket square. I need something like that. Here, like this.
Oh, there you go. See, that works, and no one can even tell.
Looks pretty good. All right. Thank you, sir. More to come.
Thank you. Enjoy it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Be there.
Bill Lowell. Add to the conversation by commenting, sharing, and liking. And don't forget to subscribe and check out the links in the comments. Learn more at b2bmarketingmindset.com.